I think it's a very solid piece of work. I mean, the situation is completely sort of bizarre and Kafkaesque, that having taken part in this sort of slightly spoof interview in which somebody, jokingly says, "I'm a spy, why is the country terrifying?" then suddenly finds himself arrested and interrogated and presented with this. And it's like the joke. I remember somebody once saying, that's the problem with jokes. They're not funny in court. Well, nor are they funny, in those sort of, interrogation situations. And what the film does is it makes you feel that awful terror of, the madness of the interrogation, which is that, you're a spy and you're guilty of espionage, and we will find some way of getting you to that point. Now, as far as sort of writing and directing is concerned, there was a quote from Jon Stewart in which he said that the original impetus for the film came from my own feelings of guilt and atonement over what had happened to him in Iran. So there was some sense of, I know when he said there, we wanted to sort of sidestep the Hollywood development process and just get on with doing it. And I think he's done a very solid job with writing the script and a very solid job with the direction. Not least when you think that actually the main interaction is between Gael Garcia Bernal, who is Mexican, and Kermode, who is Danish. And actually that's not the thing that's primarily in your mind whilst you're watching their sort of really strange screen relationship. That relationship is gripping, and one of the reasons it's gripping is because, as far as the interrogation is concerned, what the film makes clear is that his interrogator, known as Rosewater, is in this situation of pathetic powerlessness, and his anger and his rage is partly due to what you see happens to him, because he's answerable to people whom he's not impressing. And Jon Stewart said then it's like a career path, but there's his rage gets worse when the results that he's getting from the interview aren't impressing his superiors. So there is this sense of the whole thing being, as Jon Stewart said, this kind of seeping corruption, which is to do with that it's climbing a career ladder. And therefore, as I said, the whole thing becomes Kafkaesque. The whole thing becomes just surreal. The only sort of directorial flourish, because it's directed fairly straight, are the visions of the father with whom he has these discussions. And that even that is done in a very sort of straightforward, almost like a magic realist way, that we're not going to make any fuss about these being apparitions. Everything is going to seem as tangible as everything else. So I think what the film does is it tells a very good account of that story. You're certainly engaged by it and you're enraged by it, even though most people going in will know that the story has it has a happy ending. We know because we remember this from happening in the news recently.
Well, it's also based on a memoir that the guy wrote after he came out.
No, exactly. But it's you also you have a sense of how long it's going, because it's recent enough history that people do remember it happening. But I think what it does is it does trap you in that. So it does put you in his position. I think it's a very strong performance by Gael Garcia Bernal. But I think Kermode is actually the secret weapon, because I think he is terrific. It's him who breathes life into the character of Rosewater.
It does. I know it was a humorous moment.
But it's not funny.
But everybody who's watched The Bridge, and there'll be a lot of people, it takes a while for you to stop thinking of him.
Oh, did it? Okay.
As the guy from The Bridge, because he's such a strong character in that TV series. But after a while, you do. Okay,
I have to say that having not seen The Bridge, that wasn't something. I just thought he was doing a terrifically good job of being this interrogator who is actually himself is undermined and himself is powerless, and that's what makes it all the worse. So I think it's a very solidly done job. It's not particularly sort of flashy, or there's nothing in the direction, I said, other than those visions of the father that make it stand out as a piece of work. It's a solid piece of work, and it's an important story, well told.